Welcome again to another broadcast of this week's performance. Well, it's not another broadcast of this week's performance, but it's another broadcast, and it is the performance for this week. So seeing as this is my time to shine and I can say and do whatever I feel like, I'm going to use this opportunity to complain about my current feeling. So I since January of 2022, around there, I have had these dizzy spells where I just feel like I can't balance, and I feel sort of anemic and lightheaded, and oftentimes I'll have difficulty swallowing, and basically I haven't been able to exhale through my nose with force since January of 2022. If I try, I make a gross noise. Here we go. See, the air gets stopped. So I've been taking medicine for it, and then long story short, I no longer had proper medical insurance while in China, so I stopped being able to take care of it. Actually, I never had proper, whatever. Long story short, Charles. So then I went back to the US of A, and it's been one thing after another. And I finally got, Medi-Cal, and finally got to see a doctor about it like a month ago. And they stuck a camera. It felt like they stuck it about 10 feet up my nose. I think it was significantly less, probably about a foot tops. But they said, yep, you got a chronic sinus infection. Gave me a prescription to a drug called Flonase. I said I tried that, and they said, oh no, it's going to be at least 6 weeks before you, this is bad, so it's going to be at least 6 weeks before the Flonase has any effect. So I think we're on week 5 now. And one thing I've noticed is that I haven't been getting lightheaded, dizzy spells as much, but today, unfortunately, I have been getting them basically all day. And I don't know. I have this sort of too much caffeine feeling as well, which is funny because I just had a cup of coffee this morning. But I feel all jittery while at the same time feeling anemic. It's not a good feeling. Not a good feeling. And you're probably wondering what that has to do with the price of tea in China. Not a darn thing, but I do like complaining about it. I'm thinking I should put something underneath. See, usually I have the camera pointed so that you can't even see underneath the desk back there. But I'm pointing the camera down so you can see the neck of this old guitar of mine. And, I'm thinking I could put something a little bit more interesting than a bunch of wires going every which way underneath that there desk. All right. Without further ado, let's get to the thing I wrote for this week. So, I've been thinking a bit about how a big portion of this project isn't just about getting myself to get off my butt and practice, but it's actually also, and I didn't think this was going to be a thing at first, about looking inward, about what compels me to want to play guitar, and even more so about learning to accept who I am and kind of using the medium of guitar to work on that mental health stuff. I've been thinking about how a big part of why I want to get competent at guitar is because I want to be able to perform for others and entertain them. But at the same time, I'm terrifically embarrassed about how I performed last week. The singing falsetto, but then being unable to find the right key was pretty cringe, as the kids might say these days. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if one of the songwriters who I'm covering comes to find one of their songs is being done by me, which is, to date, to the best of my knowledge, only happened once. Anyway, if any of the folks from King Cobra ever saw last week's performance, I would die of embarrassment. So, okay, there's the way out is through sort of logic to this. You know, you have to experience that embarrassment and survive it in order to stop living in fear of doing something embarrassing. When I was doing stand-up comedy, I remember the nights when I killed, but I think the most important life experience from all of that was the nights when I would completely bomb and I would still have had a great time. Still have enjoyed myself doing the stand-up comedy, even if no one else had fun. On the other hand, there's more to being a successful boxer than just learning how to take a punch to the gut. And there's more to being a performer than learning how to overcome embarrassment. I think I might leave these videos up until I'm done with this project and then delete them all. I have this weird obsession with preservation, and I'm trying to learn to let everything go, including my memories. I'm still blogging every day about my life in China. Oh, I need to do that for today. Nice reminder. I'm still blogging every day about my life in China, and a lot of the time I can't remember why I took a picture or what it's a picture of. It's difficult for me because I often know there's a really interesting story there, but damned if I remember what it was. This, like the embarrassment, is something I need to learn to overcome. I don't know a whole lot about Buddhism, but I know in some sects there's an emphasis on letting go of all desire, even the desire to let go of desire. And maybe that's what I'm getting toward. Also, do they say sects in Buddhism, or are they... That feels like something where sect might not be the right word. Also, when the plural form of sect is sects, which sounds like something else, so it's kind of a funny word to say. Okay. Anyway, accepting the temporary nature of life and our place in it reminds me a lot of the subject of today's song. Not like the person who wrote it, but the lyrical content. Hasil Adkins is one of those musicians who, by right, should be listed right along with... I'm sorry, I'm going to take a moment here to make sure... Okay. How do big name streamers deal with the fact, like, when you feel like there's something in your nose and you're like, oh, is that appearing on camera? They probably just blow their nose a whole lot so that there's no possibility that that could happen. Anyway, I'll make sure to do that next week. I'm pretty proud of myself because I remembered to tune my guitar and go to the bathroom before today's performance. That's pretty good. All right, moving on. Hasil Adkins is one of those musicians who by right should be listed right along with Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and Hank Williams. but was perhaps too off-kilter to ever find much recognition beyond a dedicated following. And if I were Adkins, I think I'd be okay with that. Adkins, who has been said to have lived a wild life, far beyond his contemporaries. And I think that's something else I need to come to terms with. I don't think I'm typically the most wild person in a given social situation, but the world is a better place for having me in it regardless. We can't all be Hasil Adkins. And I think about, without using any names, there was a time in my life where I was courting a young woman who had a brother who was a wild guy, and I think she was kind of, she's a bit wild. And the brother, there was a rumor going around that once at a party, he got really drunk, and as a party trick, he tried to light his dick on fire, and he did, and had to go to the hospital. And this sounds silly, but I think there was a time in my life where I felt sort of pathetic by comparison, or not someone who would get female attention by comparison, because I have not and probably would not try something like that. And the thing is, I think, even beyond like just coming to terms with who you are and being okay with who you are, I think if you surveyed most women who are interested in men and asked them, all other things being the same, would you want to be romantically involved with a man who set his dick on fire? They would prefer to be with someone who had not done that as a neat party trick. I also have no idea if he actually did that, or even if he was the person that, because it was like a rumor, and no one was naming names. I think it was the person I think it is, but I haven't named any names, so this person could probably watch this whole video and be like, oh, okay. And unless he's the guy who lit his dick on fire, he doesn't know who I'm talking about. He doesn't know that I think it's him. I wonder if anyone thinks I'm the guy who lit his dick on fire. I guess we should probably get back to what I was reading before. This song in particular, and Hasil Adkins in general, remind me of a pretty dark time in my life. I really got into Adkins after I'd been fired from my job, and I was living in a crazy woman's garage in San Diego, and trying to piece together what I was doing with my life, and just desperately wanting to be cool, but really, not capable of, not capable of making lack of adulting look sexy, or of adulting, so kind of failing in both accounts. And just generally, trying to piece together what I was going to do with my life. Always just one step away from getting evicted. I was getting a wake-up call to what being down and out really meant. There was one point where I had to steal toilet paper because I couldn't afford to buy more. And I think Adkins makes pretty good music for when you don't have anything going for you in life. For the good times and the bad times, it's music to just barely get by to. Also, I wanted to note that I mentioned last week, I'm doing a bit of a backlog of songs related to certain times of the year. And I wanted to do a song for Father's Day since I did a song for Mother's Day. But the only song I could think of that even mentions father, well, I can think of a few, but the closest one to something where it's like, oh yeah, I would want to do that, is Daddy Don't Live in That New York City No More by Steely Dan. And I like that song, but Steely Dan is the sort of band that makes music. Sorry, I really had to scratch my nose. Steely Dan is the sort of band that makes music that's difficult to play, just to show off how well they can play music that's difficult to play. And the song isn't, to the best of my knowledge, about a literal father. And yeah, it just didn't seem like it would be a good idea to try and tackle that one. So here's a second song that mentions moms. It is what it is. I hope my father can transcend this. Other note, please take a moment after watching this to check out the original. I think what's really compelling about listening to the original song is the strumming pattern. It's really unique, and I don't think I could ever hope to recreate it. It's the sort of strumming pattern that you'd only come up with if you taught yourself guitar, and I think the more you try to study it in a sort of scholarly way, the further away you'd get from it. But it's pretty remarkable and pretty outside the box. I've put a link in the description, and I'm pretty sure I've talked for long enough. I've got one thing to tell my mommy. I want you to do it for me. Put my guitar away. Put my guitar away. And when I've gone on home, I want you to keep it to me. Keep my guitar, mama. Put my guitar away. For me, mommy. Put my guitar away. Yodelay-hoo, yodelay-hoo, yodelay, yodelay-hoo. For me, mommy. Put my guitar away. Yodelay-hoo, yodelay-hoo, yodelay-hoo. That's it. We got it. It's in the bag, I think. This is nervous laughter. All right. I have no idea how well that went. Never tried yodeling in earnest before. Usually when I try something new, I just kind of mock what other people have done and then work backwards into taking it seriously, I guess. I don't know. I've never really thought about how I would try a new thing like that. Have I ever yodeled in earnest? I think the last time I tried it, it was singing along to a song on a cassette tape that I was making with a tape recorder. I was about 10 years old. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. It's been a good week. Thought about trying to learn another song this week because this one was relatively short and simple. Didn't do that. I would like to do that at some point where I do 2 songs in 1 week, just so that if I need to take a week off for whatever reason, I can. But didn't do that this time around. Oh well. Take care, y'all. Have a good rest of your week.